It had been a perfect summer day when Jake and his friends, Lily and Max, decided to explore the old, abandoned lighthouse at the edge of town. They'd heard rumours of strange happenings on the cliffs where the lighthouse stood, stories of eerie lights that flickered at night, and ghostly figures that wandered the rocks. But it wasn't until they discovered the long-forgotten path leading down to the shore that they felt the pull to investigate. The sun hung low in the sky as they made their way down the steep, crumbling steps to the beach. The air was thick with the scent of salt water, but there was something else too, something off, like the earth itself was holding its breath.
This place gives me the creeps,
Max muttered, his voice cracking slightly as he glanced nervously toward the jagged rocks where the waves crashed violently.
It's just an old lighthouse. Who cares what happened here? Let's check it out.
Lily, ever the adventurous one, led the way, but Jake could feel something different in the air. A chill that wasn't just from the sea breeze. It was like the very ground they stood on had history that no one was meant to uncover. As they reached the lighthouse, the door was ajar, its rusted hinges creaking in protest. The light, though broken for years, still seemed to pulse faintly from the top tower, like a heartbeat trying to stay alive.
Do you see that?
Jake asked, his voice barely a whisper. His eyes locked on the tower, where the dim light seemed to flicker in rhythm with the crashing waves below.
You're imagining things.
Lily scoffed, pushing the door open further. The interior was cold, the air thick with the smell of damp stone and decay. The walls, once white, were now stained with dark marks, and dust covered everything like a heavy blanket. But what caught Jake's attention was the staircase that spiraled upwards. At the top, shadows moved unnaturally, flickering against the walls.
I'm going up.
Jake hesitated, a strange tug of dread pulling at his chest.
Lily, wait!
But she was already halfway up, her footsteps echoing in the silence. Max shrugged at Jake and followed, though his expression was uneasy. Reluctantly, Jake followed them up the stairs. The higher they climbed, the colder it became, the air heavier. As they reached the top, they found the room empty, except for a large old lantern in the center of the room. Its glass was cracked, the metal frame twisted and weathered by time. And then Jake saw it. Scratched into the stone floor beneath the lantern were words, carved in a desperate, frenzied hand. "They are still here." Before Jake could speak, a loud bang echoed through the lighthouse, followed by a low, guttural growl from somewhere below. The lantern flared to life with a blinding light. They all froze, staring in disbelief as the light twisted and writhed, like it had a life of its own.
What's happening?
Max stammered, backing away from the light. The growl grew louder. Then a voice, harsh and whispering, rasped from the darkness below.
You shouldn't have come.
The floor trembled beneath their feet. Jake's heart pounded as a shadow, blacker than night itself, began to climb the walls, stretching toward them like fingers reaching for prey. The lighthouse, it seemed, was alive.
Run!
Jake screamed, and without thinking, they all bolted down the stairs, stumbling over each other in a panic. The lighthouse seemed to groan with every step they took, as if it were alive and trying to swallow them whole. As they reached the bottom, the front door slammed shut with a deafening bang, trapping them inside. The sound of the growl grew louder and the shadows began to creep across the room, twisting into grotesque forms. In a blind panic, they tried the door, but it wouldn't budge. Behind them, the walls seemed to pulse, the air thickening with something ancient, something hungry. And then, from the corner of his eye, Jake saw them. Figures, pale, with eyes hollow and wide, their forms flickering like the dying light of a candle. They were the ones who had been waiting all this time, the ones who had never left.
A cold hand grabbed Jake's wrist, pulling him toward the shadows. He screamed, but the voice whispered in his ear again.
You shouldn't have come, and now you never will leave.
Max and Lily screamed, but the darkness was already closing in, swallowing them whole. By morning, the lighthouse was silent once more. The door was still shut, the light at the top flickering faintly in the distance. The town never spoke of the lighthouse again. And the figures? They remained, waiting for the next unwitting explorers to pull into the depths where the forgotten ones were trapped forever. But on foggy mornings, if you stood near the cliffs, you could still hear the faintest sound, the whispers of those who never made it out.
They are still here,